Hi everybody, welcome back to the Ghost Town channel. These are two American Girl dolls that I use as my top models for the 18-inch doll apparel that I sew and sell online. These two girlies are wearing two of my designs. These are very basic, easy to make party dresses. This one is in a Hello Kitty fabric. It's 100% cotton with rickrack on the seams, the bodice, and the neckline. Same here. She's got 100% cotton Care Bear fabric.
And it's really cute.
With this sparkly rickrack on it and a little bow in her hair. So I'm going to show you how to make these two dresses. I actually have two that are already finished right here. This one and this one. And these are available in my eBay shop for right now. What I'm going to do is show you how to make these two using a pattern that I modified very, very slightly. Hey, so this is the pattern that I used and modified. It's called It's So Simple by McCall's, style L9422. This comes with like this really cute coat with a little hat and then this party dress. This party dress, they did use rickrack, so I did too. I just did not do it like that. So we're gonna make this one, the party dress. These are our two bodice pieces. This is the back bodice. You cut two of these, and this is the front bodice. You cut one of these on the fold. I went ahead and retraced the pattern pieces from the pattern on just like some regular paper because I already ripped the tissue. It's just so fragile. So if you know you're going to use a pattern a lot, just retrace it on manila paper or some thick cardstock, something that's going to last you a lot longer, and then just put, label it back American Girl play dress cut 2, and then for this one, front AG party dress cut 1. I should probably put 1 on there, but yeah, that's what I did. So it's basically just 3 pieces to this outfit. So to save myself time, and I recommend you guys do this too if you're sewing a bunch of small things for dolls, just cut out all of your pattern pieces and just start stacking them. So like right here I have 2 of this dress, and right here I have 2 of this dress already cut out, so I can just start sewing. So yeah, I've got two back pieces. I've got one front piece. Bonus, we're also going to sew lining. So I've got 2 back pieces for the lining. I've got 1 front bodice piece for the lining. And then this, of course, that's our skirt that we're gonna gather and attach to it when we're done. So this pattern did not call for lining. It wants you to do facing, which I just don't want to do. I am more about quality, so I always line my garments if I'm going to sell them online. If it's for myself, like my own dolls that I'm dressing up, I might do facing. I might just do bias tape around the collar. I might just do something a lot quicker and easier, but this is merchandise that I'm selling, so I want to mimic the same quality that American Girl offers or used to offer when they were with Pleasant Company. And I hear a lot about that, how American Girl, now that they're with Mattel and it's super Barbieified, the quality has gone downhill drastically. So I want to be a little better, so I always sew, like I said, I always sew a lining onto my bodices. Another thing that I do, and I'll show you here, is that I don't leave raw edges. I don't have a serger. So I have to roll hem everything, close my raw edges, because I don't want raw edges to show at all. One thing about quality garments is that you'll see things with like French seams, rolled edges. You're not going to see any raw edges. You'll see serged edges with an overlock, but you should never see raw edges in anything that you're paying good money for. And I'll show you. As you can see here, the dress is completely lined throughout the bodice with some white fabric. And then a lot of American Girl dolls, they fasten everything with hook and loop or Velcro. I don't do that. I go the extra mile and I actually use snaps. I'll either use plastic snaps or I will use metal snaps. So that's just a nice little hint at how you can have a quality garment that will save you time. With the plastic snaps, for example, they're really easy. You just, you poke a hole and then you get the tool and you squeeze it and it puts it in place. With the metal snaps, same thing if they're the metal snaps that you hammer in, but the ones that you sew in, those do take more time. So if you're looking to save time and still have quality, I highly recommend the snaps, these plastic snaps. They're very durable, so don't be afraid to use plastic snaps. Just because it's plastic doesn't mean it's bad. Hello again. So just to recap, we've got our 2 front pieces, the front lining, 2 back pieces, and the 2 back lining, and then this long strip that's going to be the skirt. So let's get started with this. We need to hem the skirt first. You'll see why. So this is my 1/2 inch seam allowance. It's a rolled hem. So you want to make sure that you keep your stitch towards the top of your fold and just take your time. Don't rush this. Make sure to back stitch, and then we'll move on to the bodice. Alright, so I went ahead and hemmed the bottom of the skirt. But what we're going to do next, if you have an overlock or a serger, you're in luck. This is perfect. You're going to go ahead and serge overlock this raw edge right here. I don't have one, so my best friend is equipped with other types of stitches. So you see this red one right here? That one? That's the one I'm going to be using to kind of close over the raw edge. So if you don't have a serger, you're going to want to use one of these stitches. That like for quilting over raw edges. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that next. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but my fabric's like in the middle of the presser foot hole view thingy because I want to sew right along the edge of the fabric, and I'll show you why. Let's just fire it up. Okay, so you can kind of see how I kind of encase that edge just a little bit without having to use an overlock. I know it's really hard to see with that thread. Sorry. Okay, we're almost done here. So I went ahead and did a stitch to cover the raw edges on each end of the skirts and hemmed the bottom. So now we're going to move on to the bodice, because we cannot gather the top of the skirt until we know how big it needs to be for the bodice. Okay, so let's start that. We're gonna start with the bodice. I'm gonna go ahead and attach the back pieces to the front shoulder part. So I'm gonna sew these. Okay, that's done. That's our lining. We're gonna do the exact same thing with this. So remember, this is your pattern piece, so you want to make sure you match everything correctly. We're gonna sew here and sew here. All right, we're almost done with the bodice. So now what we need to do is attach the lining to the bodice. So you're going to flip over both of your pieces like that. And with an iron or with your finger, if you're using really good cotton fabric, you can probably just like open these seams up with your fingers like this. And just kind of push them down real good like that. You want to open these up before you lay your pattern on, because you want all these seams to be flat. So I am a little too lazy to get out my iron from storage. So I'm using my finger. But you know, you're making apparel to sell. You want to press down your seams with a hot iron so it looks nice and flat and clean, okay? So we'll be right back and I'll show you how to attach and pin this and sew it up. Okay, so with this pattern, the front bodice facing right side up, you're going to take the bodice with the raw seams facing you and you're gonna lay this on top and match it, okay? You're gonna match all your seams up like this, right? It's gonna look like that. So remember, to do this correctly, for the lining, it's on top with the raw edges facing you, and the bodice is on the bottom underneath this with the raw edges facing down, okay? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pin this. You might think that you're really confident in your sewing, but when you're sewing something small like this, the fabric could still shift while you're sewing. So please, please, please make sure that you pin everything down just to be safe. So everything is pinned. We're gonna go ahead and sew a straight stitch around the neckline first. And then after that, we'll go ahead and sew close the armholes. So I'm sewing the neckline right now. You wanna do like a really controlled 1/2 inch seam allowance, or 1/4 inch if you can. Make it as small as you can without, you know, without going off the edge. And you wanna go in like really slow burst as you're curving your fabric. So what I do is I take my time. You don't need to speed through this because honestly, it's not a long way to sew. It's pretty, see what I mean? I just kind of do like short burst. I turn it. Take your time. Do not rush. As you get better, you know, and more familiar with your machine, this becomes a lot easier over time, I swear. And backstitch. Okay, I removed the pins around the neckline that I just sewed. I'm gonna go ahead and make little tiny snips around the neckline right up to my stitch line, so that way this neck hole sits a lot better around the doll's neck. All right, so I finished sewing around the armhole, and I also did the same thing I did with the neckline. I made little snips around the armhole so that way it fits nicely around the doll's arm. Now I need to show you how to turn this inside out. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount this camera onto the tripod so I can show that to you. Basically what we're gonna do is take this and feed it through each side, through these tiny little holes here. You can do it with a safety pin or your finger. So I'm gonna show you both. Okay, I'm working in a super cramped area, so it's just really hard to work with a tripod, but doing the best I can. So we have the bodice, we need to flip it inside out. So I have a big ass safety pin and my stubby fingers. So we're gonna do both methods of doing this. let's go ahead and do the safety pin first. You're gonna take your safety pin. You're gonna take one of the back sides. So let's do this one. You're gonna take a corner of the top bodice, not the lining. You're gonna pin to the corner. I don't know if you guys can see that. And you're basically going to dip it through your shoulder seam. And then you'll open this up and you're just gonna pull it through, okay? And just be really careful, especially if you're using cotton because it does fray. You just wanna make sure you're nice and gentle. And just pull that through. I'm trying to stay in the view for you guys, I'm so sorry. All right, there we go. Then you can remove the safety pin, close it up. Okay, so we've got one side done. Now let's do the other side, which looks crazy. Okay, so you're gonna take, if you're gonna do this with your finger, I don't know, I just do it like this. You're gonna take the corner like you would with the safety pin, and you're gonna stuff it through that shoulder seam, right? You should be able to feel it between your finger and the bodice part. And then you just kind of peek it through. See that little corner? Just gonna pull it. That's it. So find your shoulder seams and just kind of like flatten them out with your finger. Kind of stretch everything out just a little bit, just so it all kind of settles in there. You'll want to take your iron and press down these seams to make them look nice, but this is a demo, so I'm just not going to do all that. And plus, I already told you I'm lazy. I'm not going to take out my iron out of storage. All right. So you should have something that looks kind of like this. It looks totally funky. So now we need to close up our side seams, which are here and here, okay? This is where it gets weird. But this is so you can finish the edges and hide the raw edges inside the bodice, and it looks really professional. So you're gonna take okay, so look at it like this, okay? You're gonna take this corner right here. It's very short. It's like maybe an inch. And you're gonna take this corner. You're gonna match these two together. And then you're gonna match these two linings together. Okay, you're gonna match your seam. You should have something like this. Okay, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna pin it just to keep everything in place. And you're gonna sew a line, straight stitch right down here. Okay, right there. Right there. Okay, I know it's super hard to see this, but see that? That was just a straight stitch down the middle, okay? So now, when I turn this inside out, you can see here how, see this is your armhole? See how it's all enclosed, nice and neat? Nice. So we're gonna do that on the other side too. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. This is the bodice, it's lined. This is the back. There's the front. Now what we need to do is either serge or, you know, do a cover stitch on these raw edges on each back panel. Because if we don't, especially with cotton fabric like this, it's gonna fray. So let's just close up these raw edges now. All right, so like I said, I went ahead and kind of covered those raw edges with a zigzag quilting stitch, I guess is what it's called. Now we can actually get our skirt piece and gather it and match it to this, to our bodice. So here's our skirt. What we're gonna do is sew a straight stitch and we're gonna do a wide stitch. So what you'll wanna do is set your machine to the widest length and we're gonna gather this entire top part of the skirt. Okay, so I'm doing my straight stitch, my basting stitch. You wanna keep it real close to the edge. Just one single stitch. If you're using really thick fabric, I would do two lines really close to each other, because then you'll get a nice even gather. Okay, so I went ahead and did that straight stitch, so I'm now gathering it. I gotta tell you, this is like the most annoying part actually, because you really want to be careful, you know. You want to just gently take your two fingers here and just kind of move very gently towards the center of that seam, or not seam, I'm sorry, where your stitch line is, and just gradually move it all to the center. And just get it all gathered as much as you can, and I'm going to show you how to adjust it and fit it onto the bodice so it all matches up, okay? Just take your time here, use very soft, gentle fingers. All right, I gathered my skirt. See? Now you want to get your pins ready and get your bodice ready, because we are going to pin the bodice to the skirt. And this is going to take time and it's going to take patience. We're just going to have to suck it up. So look at your bodice from the right side. Okay, then you're going to take your bodice, and this is the bottom part. So you want to take right side to right side. You're going to take the bottom corner and then the top corner of your skirt. You're going to put that together like this. Make sure it's even as much as you can. And then you're going to pin it. Pin it right in that corner. I'm sorry for all that noise in the background. That's my dog chewing on a toy. Okay, pin it. Okay, then we're gonna take the other corner and do the exact same thing and see if it kind of matches up, and if not, we're gonna do just like some really minor adjustments, and I'll show you how to do that. Match those up, pin it. Okay, now you're gonna pull. You're gonna kind of pull this apart, oops, without messing up your seams, and you're gonna find the center of your bodice and the center of your skirt, and then you're gonna add another pin. Make sure everything's flat. So you're gonna start out with 2 pins on the end and then 1 in the middle. Okay, then you're going to take this part, the middle and the ends, and see if you can kind of match them up. If you cannot, you might have to release some of your gathers like this to give yourself more room, and that is okay. That is okay. We're going to just kind of move these gathers until this is all flat and we're able to line it all up. Nice and flat. So see that? Nice. Pin it. Pin it again. We're gonna pin all the way to the other side. Okay? Now let's go to the other side. This end and this end. Let's see if we can make it lay flat. So start from one end. If you need to adjust your gathers and move them around, this is when you do that, okay? So let's go ahead and, that looks nice and flat. So we're gonna pin it. Make sure your seams are matched up as much as possible, because the next part is very important. And we need to make sure that this is all laying flat, okay? nice and even. Ooh. Adding another pin here. Add as many pins as you need to. Like honestly, with a project like this where you're dealing with a lot of gathers, use as many pins as you can. Because you do not, you know, you don't want this to come undone as you're sewing it. That would really suck, and it does happen. So just be as careful as you can. Right here, just match everything up as flat as we possibly can. Make sure you're going through all the layers. You're not missing anything. This is where you want to be a little bit of a perfectionist because you don't want to miss anything. I think I have enough pins. Okay. You should have something that looks kind of like this. Okay, all right, so now we need to close up these raw edges. This is all raw. I pinned it as much as I could. I added even more pins. So if you have a serger or an overlock machine, this will come in extremely handy. You're gonna overlock serge this entire edge right here. But since I don't have one, it's a two-step process. So I'm gonna go ahead and use one of those like edging stitches and go ahead and just go right along the edge and close all this up so it's not gonna fray. Take your time when you do this. Take your time. I cannot stress that enough, because if you don't, you'll end up, you know, getting something caught, the fabric will slip, and that's like just the worst. If you feel like you need to add more pins, just do it right before you start sewing. Like right here, I feel like I still need another pin. Don't feel like overpinning is a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. Overpinning is better than underpinning, because that's where you make mistakes and you're like, shit, I should have just like did that the right way. All right, so this is where we cover those nasty raw edges, and just take your time. So if you're using an overlock, this will be a one-step process, but if you don't have one like I don't, this will be a two-step process if you're using just a regular domesticated sewing machine. So I'll show you the next step. Just keep like kind of fidgeting with it underneath to make sure everything looks good. Nothing's getting bunched up. Right on the edge, you guys. Watch your fingers. Try not to get pricked. Keep checking underneath. Make sure everything's nice and flat. Okay, so now that I like kind of serged this edge here, because I don't have a serger, I use like a wannabe serger stitch. I need to still do a strong straight stitch right underneath where I used that closure quilting stitch to make sure that the stitch is strong enough to hold the skirt and the bodice together. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this to a straight stitch. I don't know about you, but this machine's getting kind of up there, so sometimes I have to restart my machine after I switch stitches. So I'm gonna go ahead and just like turn her off, turn her back on again, and make sure she remembers what we're doing here. Okay, she's been through a lot. She's tough. Okay, make sure to lock in your stitch, okay? This part's important. And make sure to remove your pin pins as you go, just right under that stitch you did. Make sure everything's nice and flat. Watch your fingers. All right. Now's a good time to cut all those threads that are hanging around. There should be a lot of them. Okay, just throw that over there. All right, now you can take all these pins out and see how it actually looks. Don't look at it until after you take your pins off, or you will seriously prick yourself really bad and you won't be happy about that. So we're almost done. Okay. It's like so satisfying when you're almost halfway done, and then it's just like easy fun stuff. So you might have like some threads you want to clean up right here that are just kind of like sticking out, especially if you don't have a serger. I know I need a serger. I know I need to get one, but they are expensive, and I know I'm at a level where I'm ready to handle a machine like that. It's more like the financial part of it. That's a commitment. You know, I gotta learn how to use it, learn how to thread it. All right. Let's see how she looks. This is what you should be looking at right now. Something like this. So as you can see, it's all gathered. And when you look at it like this, you know, it looks, it's all lined. You got your nice clean hem. It looks really professional. So now we need to actually fasten it so it can close. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna open one side of it. You wanna keep this seam where the bodice and the skirt are, you wanna keep that seam pressed up, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're just gonna do a 1/2 inch fold. Make sure to pin where the bodice and the skirt meet, just to kind of keep that down. And then use your finger, keep it nice and flat. If you want to iron down the seam, that's the best, obviously. But for demo purposes, like I said, I'm not ironing anything today. I'm just not. If I was selling it, yeah, sure. Okay. So you should have something that looks like this. Oh my God, what am I doing? Okay. Like that. And then you're gonna straight stitch that down. Now remember, we serged or want to be serged all this down, so this raw edge is not gonna come undone. We'll do the same on the other side. Start with your middle seam first, make sure that's pressed up. Go ahead and pin that down. Oops. Try not to poke yourself. Find a way to pin that down. Remember, just like a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch, we're gonna sew this down. Then do the top. And then do the bottom. yourself. All right, I'm gonna sew that down. We're not done. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna add the trim to our dress. This is optional. I have this really adorable shimmery rickrack that I'm going to go ahead and place around the neckline of the dress like that. I'm also going to add it to the waistline. I'm also going to line the hem as well. So when you do that, you want to just make sure that you take a little piece like this and fold it over the top and then sew it down, so that way this gets nice and hidden and it looks really nice and neat. Make sure to take your time when you're doing this. Try to, if you're using rickrack or trim or whatever, just make sure to keep your line straight towards the center of it. If it's thin, like rickrack, and just take your time. Right before you get to the end, you're gonna want to snip your rack right at the end right there. And grab a tool and just kind of tuck it under there as best you can. I know it's probably hard to see. So let's go ahead and do that for the middle and the hem. This is totally optional. It's your design. You can not use trim. You can use buttons. You can use lace. You can use whatever you want. Okay, so I sewed all my trim. Very cute. Now we need to close up the back. So you have a lot of options here. You could use buttons if you're good with buttons and you have a good buttonhole tool. You could also zipper, you could Velcro, but because I just want my garments to look a little more professional, we're gonna use snaps, okay? So you can buy snap kits almost anywhere. You can buy them at Michael's, you can buy them at Hobby Lobby. You can pretty much buy them almost anywhere now. But one thing I want to stress is if you buy snaps, buy them somewhere reputable, like Walmart or Hobby Lobby, right? Do not go on Temu and buy snaps and the fastening tool. So I had a fastening tool that I bought from Hobby Lobby. Actually, this one came from Walmart, I'm sorry, but this is like a good quality, you know, it's heavy duty. I did buy one from Temu and it was horrible. It fell apart. It would break my snaps. So make sure when you buy a fastener that you buy a good quality one. Don't go cheap because they will break your snaps. They'll hurt your hands because you gotta squeeze like twice as hard and it just really sucks. So I'm gonna go ahead and fasten my snaps and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So one thing I wanna recommend you guys, because if you don't put your snaps on correctly and they're not balanced, you'll have lumps in your back seam. So I just did the first top one. Okay. You're gonna lay your dress down, put your finger on that snap, and then grab your bottom edges, pull them tight like this. The reason why we're doing this is we're gonna put one at the top, starting at the top, and then we're gonna put the second one at the bottom. So that way we don't have anything uneven. It doesn't look ridiculous. So go ahead and take your owl and go ahead and poke a hole wherever you're gonna stick it, which I'm gonna stick mine here. Then fasten that one, and then when you fasten here and here, it'll be nice and flat, nice and flush. Just a tip. Okay, I went ahead and put my snaps on the back of the dress. Now we need to put the dress on the doll, our model, and see how it looks and make any adjustments if we need to. Okay, thanks for sticking around. We survived. Here she is in her dress that we just sewed. She is super cute. Let's turn her around. See how that's all nice and flat? It fits her perfect. This is a very fun, easy project. So yeah, if you're looking to make a fun American Girl doll dress, I hope this was enjoyable for you guys and easy. And you know, you can make these rather simple, sell them online, or just, you know, make them for yourself. Thanks so much for sticking around, guys. Bye-bye.